it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The prayer this morning will be offered by the good delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a prayer that my family does on special occasions, and this weekend was a very special occasion for us, so we had an opportunity to do it then. We thank you, God, and we are grateful for the bonds of loyalty and affection which sustain us and which keep us close to one another no matter how far apart we may be. We thank you for implanting within us the capacity to love and to care. Help us to be modest in our demands of one another, but generous in our giving to each other. May we never measure how much love and encouragement we offer. May we never count the times we forgive. Rather, may we always be grateful with one another and be able to express our love in acts of kindness. Keep us gentle in our speech. When we offer words of criticism, may they be chosen with care and spoken softly. May we waste no opportunity to speak words of sympathy, of appreciation, and of praise. Bless our families in nearby cities and distant cities with health, happiness, contentment, and joy. Above all, grant us the strength to continually build a home in which your spirit will always abide. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 128 members present, the House is now in session. The clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February 17, 2025.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the journal.
So ordered, petitions, memorials, and other papers. The clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignments.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 45, February the 18th, 2025. Referred to appropriations.
House resolution. Recognizing the good delegate representing Prince George's County.
Good morning, colleagues. We have joining with us today someone who is not a stranger to this House, but is definitely a former member of this House. Once he left this House, he decided he wanted to be the first African American to serve as the United States Attorney for the state of Maryland. This gentleman served our country in the highest regard in tackling a number of important issues plaguing our state, dealing with criminals and gangs, dealing with voter suppression, and dealing with a myriad of other activities that won him accolades and awards. And so it is my honor to welcome back to this chamber the former delegate, Eric Barron, United States Attorney for the state of Maryland from Prince George's County.
Will the reading clerk please read the resolution in full?
Be it hereby known to all that the House of Delegates of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to Maryland U.S. Attorney Eric Barron in recognition of your trailblazing career as the first Black U.S. Attorney for Maryland and your commitment to safeguarding our communities. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution to be presented on this 18th day of February 2025.
Report of the Committee on Appropriations, report number 3. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 43, Federally Qualified Health Centers Grant Program, Acquisition of Land, favorable.
The question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 214, Human Services Maryland Assistive Technology Program, Establishment, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Report of the Committee on Environment and Transportation, report number 3. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 100, Insurance Pooling, Public Entity Definition, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 172, Community Health and Safety Works Grant Program and Fund Alterations, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 279, Municipalities Annexation Resolution, Submission to Department of Planning, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 363, Common Ownership Communities Candidate or Proposition Signs Display Period, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 615, Condominiums and Homeowners Associations Clarification, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Health and Government Operations, report number 5. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 33, Department of Service and Civic Innovation, Maryland Course Program Service Year Option Pathways Revisions, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 188, Procurement, Scrutinize Entities, Prohibition, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 209, State Finance and Procurement, Local Cybersecurity Preparedness and Response Plan and Assessment, repeal, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 221, Department of Information Technology, Maryland Digital Service Establishment, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 284, procurement, electronic transactions, clarification of fees due. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 443, baby food labeling, statement regarding toxic heavy metal testing, terminology. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 565, State Board of Pharmacy, renewal notices, electronic means. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 1. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 22, Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, study on location of individuals prior to and following incarceration. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 27, Estates and Trusts, compensation of guardians of property and trustees. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 241, marriage, confidential communication. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 243, family law, adoption of an adult. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 323, domestic partnership and marriage, required information. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 380, criminal law, prohibition on sale of contraceptives and contraceptive devices in vending machine in school. Repeal. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are
Madam
there
Speaker.
any amendments to the bill or to its title? Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Is it appropriate time, can I ask a quick question of the floor leader for purpose of amendment?
That's why I thought that's why you stood up.
Yes. Is that okay? Hi.
ahead.
That is.
Yes.
Hi, and looking over the bill, could you tell me, does this bill, were there any amendments separating out different school levels, or would it include all levels of school?
It includes all levels of school. It's just simply repealing a crime.
Okay, and it specifically lists out in the bill, kindergarten, nursery school, would that be our pre-K, including our private practitioners?
It would include pre-K.
Okay, all right. Permission.
That's the original language in the bill.
In the original language of the, and we're repealing that.
Correct.
Okay. Madam Speaker, I'd like to special order House Bill 380 for purpose of the amendment.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Till when?
Till tomorrow?
Tomorrow's
Appropriate time
fine.
Tomorrow? Thank you.
Thank you.
The question before the House is to special order House Bill 380. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 380 has been special ordered until the appropriate time tomorrow. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 388, Vehicle Laws, Drunk and Drugged Driving, Points Assessments, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Environment and Transportation, report number 4. Will clerk read the first bill?
House Bill 104, Maryland Farms and Families Fund, Purpose and Use Alterations, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Be so much consider the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As amended, the departmental bill modifies stated purpose and authorized uses of the Maryland Farms and Family Fund within the Maryland Department of Agriculture. It also makes other related and technical changes. Committee amendment makes technical changes and adds an existing definition of person for clarifying purposes. Move the amendment.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 262, Department of Agriculture, Maryland Agricultural Commission, and Young Farmers, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Be so much consider the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The departmental bill alters the membership and appointment process of the Maryland Agricultural Commission within the Maryland Department of Agriculture and repeals the Young Farmers Advisory Board within the department and instead establishes the Committee on Young Farmers. Amendment number 1 makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 makes a conforming change to the statute establishing the Maryland Agriculture Land Preservation Foundation Board of Trustees. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 272, Maryland Department of Planning, Modernization, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendment allows the Maryland Department of Planning to use population figures developed by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, as well as member jurisdictions when preparing population projections for the Washington metropolitan area. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 277, Environment Water Bottle Filling Stations Requirement, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
As amended, this bill requires, beginning October 1, 2025, that at least one water bottle filling station or a combined water bottle filling station and drinking fountain must be installed in all new construction and in any building that is undergoing a renovation for which a drinking fountain is required under the current version of the International Plumbing Code or state or local law regulation, and 2, replace the drinking fountain in an area of a building that is undergoing a renovation if the renovation includes replacing the drinking fountain. Amendment number 1 makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 establishes exceptions to the bill requirements, clarifies the definition, clarifies references to the International Plumbing Code, and clarifies the bill requirements that apply to new construction. Move the amendments, Madam Speaker.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 347, Real Property Recordation and Land Records Requirements. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment number 1 adds a co-sponsor. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment number 1 adds a co-sponsor. Amendment number 2 makes additional technical changes to the recording and indexation of land records. Move the amendments, Madam Speaker.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 463, Vehicle Laws, Motor Vehicle Administration, 3-hour roadway safety driving education program. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendment is technical. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. The question adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Health and Government Operations, report number 6. Clerk, read the first bill.
House Bill 235, State Government Information Technology Cybersecurity Revisions. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The one amendment retains the requirement that the office report to multiple committees in the House and Senate and on the state's expenditure on cybersecurity relative to overall IT spending for the prior 3 years, and for changes to the budget to improve state and local cybersecurity preparedness, and changes the reporting date to the third Wednesday in January each year, except for the third Friday in January when we have newly elected governor. Move the amendments.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 265, Dental Services Qualification for Maryland Dent Care Program and Study on Use of Dental Online Credentialing. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment 1 is technical, alters the short title and adds some awesome co-sponsors. Amendment 2 removes from the bill a requirement for the Maryland Insurance Administration to report on the use of online credentialing systems by dental insurance carriers. Move the amendments, please.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 297, Maryland Health Benefit Exchange, State-Based Young Adult Health Insurance Subsidies Pilot Program, sunset repeal. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds sponsors and makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 authorizes, rather than requires, the Maryland Health Benefit Exchange to establish and implement the program and prohibits the exchange from implementing the program if certain funds are not available. Move the amendments.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 300, State Government Grants and Contracts, Reimbursement of Indirect Costs. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment 1 makes the bill an emergency bill, adds co-sponsors, and is technical. Amendment number 2 alters the reimbursement rate to the greater of the de minimis rate established in federal regulations, or 15%. Amendment number 3 requires DBM to study and report certain information for certain nonprofit organization grant or contract recipients and subrecipients. Move the amendments, please.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 424, Prescription Drug Affordability Board, Authority for Upper Payment Limits, Lowering Prescription Drug Costs for All Marylanders Now Act. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds sponsors and makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 requires the Prescription Drug Affordability Board to confer with Medicaid before setting upper payment limits that may impact Medicaid, provides that the authority to set upper payment limits does not apply to purchases or payer reimbursements related to certain federal programs, and corrects a typo that makes the dates consistent with implementing the contingency. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title?
Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader briefly rise? I had an opportunity, good morning, an opportunity earlier to speak with you a little bit. Could you just sort of explain for us, from your perspective, from the committee's perspective, what this bill does? What is the intent and the purpose of it with respect to what we've already done with the Prescription Drug Affordability Board in prior pieces of legislation?
Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. I appreciate your question and speaking with me in advance. So in 2019, we established the Prescription Drug Affordability Board because of the skyrocketing, unsustainable cost of prescription drugs to the state and to the residents of the state. We established the board as a pilot and said that its authority to analyze the cost of drugs with respect to an affordability challenge and to come up with options for how the state might manage those costs. I mean, I think we would all agree in this body that the cost of prescription drugs has really gotten out of control. And they are now taking up about 40% of every premium dollar that we pay here in Maryland. So the board is now poised to begin that process of looking at 6 drugs they are concerned might be raising an affordability challenge. And in those analysis, they'll be determining whether or not it is necessary, or what kinds of options they have to control those costs. One of them is setting upper payment limits. And I know I've said this on the floor many times, but I want to remind folks that upper payment limits are not price caps. What they are is what we as a state can afford to pay for a particular drug. So just be clear, that's what it is. It's like you're budgeting for your household. This is how much I can pay for eggs. So if I can't pay what's on the shelf, I can't buy it. And so that's really where, how we need to think about upper payment limits. They're poised to do this for the state and local governments, insurance programs. With this bill, we would expand that authority to the commercial market. And there is a contingency in here that says it has to be, the board has to go through the process for at least 2 drugs, and we have to see how it works. And if it works, then immediately we would be poised to apply the same authority to the commercial market. And the reason we want to do that is because for the state and local employees, the savings that we can find with the state and local governments are going to save taxpayer dollars, because those are dollars that pay for those programs. But it doesn't affect what the commercial market is doing. And so this bill would allow that to happen with the commercial market, so that insurance carriers could actually pay less for drugs than they're paying now. If insurance carriers pay less, then their premiums have to go down, because there's a federal law under the Affordable Care Act that says they can spend no more than 20% on administrative services. So, and 80% on the cost of medical care and prescriptions. If the cost of prescriptions go down, the amount that the insurance carrier has to pay goes down. So the effect would be on premiums. And it would also be for folks who pay co-insurance at the pharmacy counter. If your plan says you pay 10% of the cost of the drug, if the drug is costing less, your co-insurance will be less. We want to be ready to go as soon as we are able, because we don't know what's going to happen at the federal level. Right now, the things that had been put in place by the previous administration to negotiate drug prices with the pharmaceutical pricing chain for Medicare has been suspended. Also, the cap on insulin for federal workers, for Medicare patients. So we don't know what's going to happen at the federal level. We want to be ready to go as soon as we can and get this board going.
I appreciate that. I guess I have a question, not being too familiar. I'm very lucky. I don't really take any prescription medications. I really never have. I don't really understand quite how all of the payments of it work, maybe. But what you just said was interesting to me. And I get what you're saying, a state or local health plan, the upper payment limit is just their budget. It says, hey, if you need prescription drug A, we're only willing to pay $50 a month for prescription drug A. What happens if the provider of that drug, the manufacturer, the distributor, the pharmacist, the company, whoever is the ultimate end seller to me, the patient, says, yeah, I'm not taking $50. I sell that drug in Virginia, I sell that drug in Pennsylvania, I sell it in DC. These are all places that do not have prescription drug affordability boards, to my knowledge. I sell it in West Virginia, I sell it in Delaware. I get $100 a month for that drug there. You're telling me that you only pay me $50. Cool. Thanks for your $50, but the drug costs $100. So in that case, does the person who's using the drug in the system we've set up now, the state or local worker, do they have to pay that money, or are they just simply told, we don't provide you with that drug at that price? You can set an upper payment limit all you want, but if you're outside of where our market is, we're not forced to provide it to you at that price.
So under commerce law, you are not allowed to advertise in a state if you are not going to sell it. we are a pretty big media market. If you look at Baltimore market extends to Pennsylvania, Washington market extends into Virginia, West Virginia. So I don't know about you, but I happen to be watching one hour of show and I saw 12 commercials. I counted them, 12 commercials for Farxiga in 1 hour of programming the other night, just to get myself ready. So that's a lot of advertising that they wouldn't be able to do. So that's number one. Number two, so in terms of how do they make up the difference? Our insurance plans are what determines how much the customer pays at the pharmacy. And so our insurance plans, be it a state or local plan or a commercial plan, will determine that amount, whether it's a copay, you pay $5 for every drug, or $5 for a drug on this tier, $10 for a drug on this tier, co-insurance, a percentage, but that's where that would be determined. And I would suggest that if the pharmaceutical chain, and again, I consider this a chain, because it's not just pharma, it's also, everybody's heard of pharmacy benefit managers.
PBMs and pharmacies
PBMs,
and doctors,
right?
and everybody gets a little cut.
Wholesalers, absolutely. That they can make it up with other kinds of giving up things like advertising, giving up, cutting down on stock buybacks. So there are lots of different ways for them to make up any losses that they might experience.
Okay, and I think that's why I don't take prescription drugs, because of the advertising where they now say, you're going to take this pill and lose some weight, but you're going to wind up growing things out of your head and increase your chance of heart disease, and you may die at any moment. That scares the crap out of me when I watch those things. I'm like, I don't want to take any of that stuff for any reason. But I appreciate what you're saying and sort of the colloquy about it. It's obviously a very complicated and complex issue. My understanding is we're one of the very few states that is doing this and advancing this, so that it's fairly unique. Would the committee mind, as we discussed, taking an opportunity to special order this for the possible purpose of amendment and take a harder look at it until tomorrow's session?
I certainly support that, and I would ask that that you give me an amendment.
As soon as we do, we certainly will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to special order until tomorrow's session.
Question before the House is the special order HB 424 until the appropriate time tomorrow. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The bill has been special ordered. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 2. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 39, Public Health, Prohibition on Transfer of Human Immunodeficiency Virus, repeal. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing committee
Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds co-sponsors. Amendment number 2 alters the short title. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. That ends the work at the desk. Committee announcements, appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Appropriations Committee will have bill hearings at 1 o'clock.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, the House Judiciary Committee will begin bill hearings today at 12 noon. 12 noon. And going forward at this point in the session, we will be starting our bill hearings 1 hour after the end of the floor session. So please keep that in mind if you're bringing bills in front of Judiciary. 12 noon today.
Okay. Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Environment and Transportation Committee will meet for bill hearings at 1 p.m.
Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will meet for bill hearings at 1 p.m.
Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Economic Matters Committee will have a subcommittee chairs meeting at 12:30, followed by bill hearings at 1 p.m., and then voting immediately after bill hearings.
Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Health and Government Operations Committee will have bill hearings at 1 p.m. Thank you.
All right. Subcommittee announcements. Vice Chair, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Natural Resources Subcommittee will meet at 3 p.m. or 15 minutes after hearings today in ENT. Thank you.
Okay. Any other subcommittee? Yes.
Madam Speaker, the Land Use and Ethics Subcommittee of Environment and Transportation will meet at 4 o'clock or 15 minutes after Natural Resources ends. So pay attention to your emails and text messages. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any other? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Public Health and Minority Health Disparities Subcommittee will meet on Zoom at 11 a.m. today.
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Insurance and Pharmaceutical Subcommittee will be meeting after bill hearings. Anticipate 5 o'clock, and we will shoot for that. Thank you.
Any other subcommittee announcements? Don't see anything. Any delegation announcements? Wednesday. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Prince George's County County Affairs Committee will meet tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. via Zoom.
Any other delegation announcements? Okay. Any caucus announcements? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, today is the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland's HBCU Shadow Day. We have amazing scholars from all 4 Maryland illustrious institutions: Coppin State University, Morgan State University, Bowie State University, and the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I understand that the president of the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Dr. Heidi Anderson, will be joining us later on today. Colleagues, if you are a Black Caucus member with a shadow, please meet them in the rotunda immediately after floor. And I'd like to ask everyone to join me in welcoming our HBCU scholars who are here in the galleries.
Okay. Any other?
Madam Speaker?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, just a quick reminder for individuals that would like to submit to the Legislative Review Committee for the Latino Caucus that tomorrow at 5 is the last day for submission. Thank you.
Are you standing for a reason? Okay.
Yes, as chair of the Latino Caucus.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, Latinx Youth Day is upon us very soon, March 7th. Please look at your emails. You did receive one from our caucus around signing up. Your participation makes that day a success. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Yeah. Surely. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Tomorrow at 8 a.m., AAPI caucus is a breakfast with Governor Wismore at his residence. Thank you.
Any other delegation? Okay. All right. Now we're going to the. I can hear you guys. We're going now to Black History Moment, and a good delegate representing Baltimore City would share with us.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to our Black Caucus Chair, members of the House of Delegates, and our esteemed guests, as we gather today for this Black History Month, we do so in the spirit of remembrance and resolve. We honor the struggles and triumphs of our ancestors, and we recommit ourselves to the work of justice and progress. Today, I invite you to reflect on a remarkable chapter of our shared history, one that connects these halls that we serve in to the shores of West Africa, for a freedom project sponsored by the Maryland General Assembly. The project was called Maryland. And it was more than just a colony. It was a radical declaration of Black, Negro self-determination in the face of de jure white supremacy. And today, this legacy calls on us to lead with the same boldness. In December 1831, the Maryland General Assembly made an unprecedented decision to appropriate $10,000 annually for 20 years to fund the repatriation or removal, depending on your point of view, of free black, Negro Marylanders back to Africa. It was a back to Africa movement before Garvey. 100 years before Garvey. This effort was led by the Maryland State Colonization Society, who created an uneasy alliance between slaveholders, slave-holding, human trafficking white supremacists, who feared the presence of free Negro people, and abolitionists who saw that colonization was a means of Negro autonomy. But no matter their motivations, the ones that truly define this history are the courageous men and women who left Baltimore's Fells Point in our 46th district, crossing the Atlantic in pursuit of a future where they could be free. A fun fact, these are the same peers in the same time that Frederick Douglass worked. Among them was John Brown Russwurm, who became the first black Negro governor of what was initially Maryland in Africa, and later the Republic of Maryland. These pioneers faced hardships, conflicts with indigenous communities, and the challenges of building a nation from the ground up. Yet despite these struggles, they built schools, churches, and institutions of government. And in 1854, they declared their independence as the Republic of Maryland. In 1857, 3 years later, this republic merged with Liberia, becoming the Maryland County in Liberia. I first learned of this powerful story through the Emmy Award-winning documentary, Africa's Maryland, presented by the late and great Reverend Dr. Tim Tootin. In 2005, a delegation traveled to Maryland County, Liberia for 2 weeks, exploring its history, engaging with its people, and immersing themselves in the legacy of the Republic. Their journey provided a first-hand look at the resilience of these descendants of early pioneers. The documentary, which was released in 2007, captures this profound connection, and I encourage each of you to look it up on YouTube to witness this living history. You just got to look up Africa's Maryland. You see, Madam Speaker, Reverend Tootin was more than just a journalist. He was an educator, a storyteller, and a keeper of our history. He was a dynamic preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he was a mentor to a young church boy from East Baltimore who he always encouraged to keep the faith. For 35 years at WBAL-TV, he made sure that the stories of the black community were told with integrity and depth. Even after retiring, he continued to serve at Loyola University of Maryland and pastoring at Harvest Christian Ministries, leaving a mark on so many of us Baltimoreans. His passing is a deep loss, but his legacy is a reminder that history is not just something we remember. It is something that we must act upon, that we must get to know. It's something that we create through our own experiences and the decisions we make. Madam Speaker, members, as we look across the world, we must recognize our place in history. We must recognize that the struggles of freedom, of dignity, and self-determination are not relics of the past. They are the challenges of today. We must lead with courage, with clarity, and with conviction. So in the tradition of those who came before us, Madam Speaker, let us claim the spirit of bold action that built the Republic of Maryland. And let us ensure that when the history books look back on us, it will say that we too were unafraid to dream and act beyond the limits of our time. So in conclusion, Madam Speaker, and in honor of Reverend Dr. Tootin's remarkable life, and in remembrance of the ancestors who paved the way before us, I ask that we all join in a brief moment of silence. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and may we all walk forward with purpose, knowing that we are the legacy makers of today.
Well done.
Any other personal or guest announcements? Gentlelady from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, February 18th, is Maryland Independent Higher Education Day. There will be over 100 students meeting with legislators today representing the 13 state-aided member institutions of the Maryland Independent College and University Association, otherwise known as MICUA. They have scheduled meetings with your offices to say thank you for your support of the Joseph A. Selinger program, which provides financial support to Maryland students that attend a MICUA institution. Please join me in welcoming these students for visiting us today in Annapolis. I believe some of them are in the gallery today.
Any other personal? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, please join me this morning in welcoming attendees from the William Julius Wilson Institute at the Harlem Children's Zone, who are joined by community grantees from across Maryland, including Baltimore City, Western Maryland, and Prince George's County, who are participating in the Enough Act program. Thank you for visiting the Maryland House of Delegates, and I believe they are seated behind me.
Can you stand up so we can see you? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues up in the gallery today, please join me in welcoming the brilliant, earnest, and engaged students from the countywide Magnet Law and Public Policy program at Towson High School.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, I don the ceremonial green velvet jacket
You noticed.
to announce that we have selected the date for this year's Irish celebration. It will take place on March the 12th at Galway Bay once we get off the floor. I will soon announce this year's honoree and the beneficiary of this year's honoree. Details will be posted on the protocol calendar. But for now, the date is Wednesday, March the 12th, Galway Bay. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. All right. Gentleman from Anne Arundel, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use delegate's name?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Tomorrow morning, Delegate Healy and I will be in the blood bank, in the blood trailer at 9 a.m. So this is last call for the Vampire Caucus. So if you want to donate blood, our state needs it, and we need you. That includes Republican blood. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
That's an interesting announcement. Any other personal or guest? Gentlelady from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a reminder, Thursday, 10:30 to 1:30, Treasury Building, Assembly Room. Bring your bare skin. Thank you. Maryland Dermatologic Society will be doing skin lesions, skin screening examinations.
Any other announcement? Seeing none. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? The clerk will take the call. There being 130 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stands adjourned until Wednesday, February 19th at 10 a.m.